It was a bitterly cold December night in Canada, the kind that makes you regret ever stepping outside. As usual, I found myself working the late shift at the pizza joint, my hours stretching from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. Most of my deliveries took me to the outskirts of town, where the roads were barely plowed and the snow piled high against the foothills. But hey, I had an advantage: an all-wheel drive car, studded tires, and chains for the toughest conditions. Plus, I was one of the senior drivers, trusted to handle the riskier deliveries. On this particular night, a request came in for a delivery right to the edge of our delivery range, about 45 kilometers from the store. With the snowy weather, I decided to call the number on the order slip to confirm the address and check if they still wanted their pizza. To my surprise, a cheery old lady answered, assuring me that despite the storm, she was eagerly awaiting her pizza. With a promise of a generous tip, I set out into the night. As I left the city limits, I couldn't help but notice that all the lights were out. Street lights, house lights, everything. Concerned, I called my boss to confirm if it was a widespread power outage. It was. But undeterred, I pressed on, my headlights piercing through the darkness ahead. About 10 kilometers down the road, I encountered a chilling sight. A car with its hazards blinking, blocking the road. The tracks in the snow suggested the driver had lost control and skidded to a stop. Approaching cautiously, I saw the driver's side door was open, snow piling inside, and blood smeared across the interior. Instinct kicked in, and I reached for my phone to call 911. But to my horror, there was no cell service. Panic rising, I decided to check on the driver. Following a trail of blood leading from the car, I trudged through the snow, my heart pounding in my chest. Then I heard it, heavy, labored breathing, close by. Frozen in fear, I strained my eyes in the darkness, trying to make out the source of the sound. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, a creature covered in blood-soaked fur, standing on two legs but moving like a bear. Terrified, I turned and ran back to my car, adrenaline pumping through my veins. When I reached it, I found the doors flung open, pizza boxes scattered on the ground. Without hesitation, I jumped in and sped off towards the nearest police station. The official story was that the driver had collided with a bear, which had dragged them off into the woods. But something about it didn't sit right with me. The creature I saw was no bear. It was something else entirely. To this day, I can't shake the memory of that night. Whatever that creature was, I hope I never encounter it again. And as for delivering pizzas in the dead of night, well, let's just say I'll be sticking to the well-lit streets from now on.
It all started on a Saturday night while I was delivering pizzas. I got this late order for 8 pizzas to be dropped off at this house way out of town. It was dark, and the place felt kind of spooky, but I went up to the door anyway. There was this note on the door saying not to ring the bell but to come inside. It seemed weird, but I knocked. No one answered at first, but then I heard this voice from inside. It sounded like a lady, but something felt off about it. I was a bit nervous, but I went in to check. The house was a mess, like no one had cleaned it in ages. Following the voice, I found this room with candles and a chair covered in blood and guts. The voice changed, sounding really scary, and I knew I had to leave. As I ran out, I saw this strange figure in the yard, a small-headed creature with a tail. It freaked me out, and I bolted to my car. The police later found the house on fire and arrested the guy who lived there, Stanley Wardle. But the weirdness didn't stop. Even though Stanley admitted to killing the 3 people and was pleading guilty, he stood up in front of the courtroom the very first day of his prosecution and said that he was not the one that murdered those people and blamed something else. The judge put off all of this nonsense as Stanley's way of trying to scare the jury and sentenced him to serve 3 lifetime sentences with no hope of probation. He was found dead in his cell. He wrote a scary message on the walls with his blood. It will rise again. People started talking about this scary thing, but nobody knows what it looks like. Only that it's really frightening. I'm still scared, even in the daytime. That night keeps coming back to me, reminding me of how scary things can get. And when I look into the darkness, I can't help but wonder, will that scary thing come back again?
My name's Trevor, and I'm a pizza delivery guy in a small rural town up in northern Canada. let me tell you about the night I thought I was going to be murdered. It was one of those shifts where everything just felt off, you know? Tuesday night, bad tips, and a creeping sense of dread that seemed to settle over me like a thick fog. This town's got about 25,000 people, mostly farmers, loggers, and a few college kids. We're situated along the foothills of this massive mountain range, so things can get pretty isolated out here. And my job? Well, I'm expected to deliver pizzas to just about anywhere within a 50-kilometer radius. Yeah, you heard me right. So, I spend a lot of time driving down deserted dirt roads, surrounded by nothing but trees and darkness. Anyway, back to that night. I'd already made a bunch of deliveries out to the boonies, and let me tell you, those redneck folks aren't exactly known for their generosity. So, when the order came in for a house 50 clicks away, I wasn't exactly thrilled. But then I saw the special instructions on the slip. Big tip as long as instructions are followed. Take the pizza inside the house to the upstairs bedroom. Door will be unlocked. Well, that perked me up a bit. A big tip? Hell yeah, sign me up. The GPS led me to this rundown old house that looked like it hadn't been lived in for years. Broken windows, caved-in roof, the whole 9 yards. And the front door? Non-existent. But hey, I figured, unlocked my ass, and grabbed the pizza from the car. As I approached the house, I heard this sound coming from one of the upstairs windows. It was laughter, but not the kind that makes you smile. No, this was like someone trying to mimic laughter, but failing miserably. It sent a chill down my spine, let me tell you. I mustered up the courage to call out a weak, "Hello," and after what felt like an eternity, I heard a response. "I'm very hungry, please hurry." But there was something off about the voice. It didn't sound human. It was strained, unnatural, like something out of a horror movie. That's when I noped out of there faster than you can say, extra cheese. I dropped the pizza and bolted back to my car, heart pounding in my chest. Even now, safe at home, I can't shake the feeling of dread that washed over me that night.
I hope you found these stories as chilling and unsettling as I did. It's a stark reminder that sometimes reality can be stranger and more frightening than fiction. If you enjoyed these tales of suspense, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more spine-chilling content. This is your host, Nicholas Black. Until next time.